What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American now living in Sierra Leone. And if you want to know how I feel about living here in Sierra Leone after about a month, then this is the video for you. All right. We are live on all platforms. We're live on Instagram. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and we are live on Twitch. We're live on Facebook as well. If you guys can hear me, let me get a thumbs up. Let me know that you guys can hear me so that I know that you know that I'm here and so that I can see from you guys. Let me know that you guys can hear me. We're going to talk about what my experience has been like here in Sierra Leone after about a month. How I feel. Do I love it? Do I hate it? What do I love? What do I hate? How has it been? Many of you have been asking, and I'm ready to tell you. There's a lot to cover today, and I'm looking forward to telling you. So if you're just joining and you're not familiar with who I am, my name is, again, Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American. I now live back here in Sierra Leone. I moved full-time about 3 weeks ago. I've recently done some vlogs about some of the things that I've run into, some of the challenges that I've run into, some of the solutions that I've been working on, and some of the other things that are challenges countrywide and the solutions that are being worked on a more federal level. So all of those things have been talked about, but we're going to talk about my personal experience over the last 3 weeks because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to cover, and there's stuff that has to pertain to the social media platforms that I run, and also my experience overall. So really quickly, there's a couple comments. So Douglas Smith Sr. is asking what I love about being at home. Give me a second. Let me answer that. Peace and blessings, everyone. Nubian Treasure. I can't read the whole name. It's too long to read, but Nubian Treasure. Okay. It's not all showing up. What do you love about being home? So what I love about being home is learning more about my heritage, my recent family history. You can't know where you're going unless you know where you come from, right? And I'm a really big proponent of people coming to Sierra Leone, and if you're from Sierra Leone, coming back home and at least visiting and learning more about your heritage. So number one, I would definitely say that. Number two, what I love about being here is the family environment, the way people want to work together to further this country, and we're all like family. So that's been great. But we'll talk about some of the challenges that I've had too. Definitely we'll go into that. As we're talking, I'm just reminded that I have a MiFi over here that I need to be connecting to just in case I lose connection to the main internet where I am. So give me a second, guys, while I look for the device and I connect to it, because it's important to be able to get online. So that's the MiFi right here. So losing some juice, I'm going to plug it in. So let me walk you through today. But before we do, let me just acknowledge some people who joined. So Alpha Boss says, hey, Joe, what's up, Alpha? Cornell Smith said, never commented, watch most of these religiously. Jamaican Sierra Leonean American, want to go to Sierra Leone in December and January for the first time to go to Bamba Day and other December events. Nice. So I do have the Bamba Day vlog coming in the next couple of weeks where I did December's and the April one. I'm gonna see if I can combine the two of them. But in December we had Iris Star and Ruger, and then in April we had Oxlade. So I went to both, and I got a chance to see all of them, and it was incredible to see these huge Nigerian artists performing in Sierra Leone. It was like our own version of Afro Nation or Afrochella. I was proud to see that put on here. And then there's other events too, like Madang, which I really think is basically a staple here in Sierra Leone. Like if you haven't been to Madang, you definitely have to go to Madang as well. That features artists from all over West Africa, and of course also our Sierra Leonean artists. So it's good to support Medang as well. But yeah, I definitely recommend going to Medang too. I just need to plug this in. So if you guys can forgive me for 2 seconds to step off camera to plug this in the wall behind me, because you have no idea what what the last 40 minutes have been like trying to get somewhere where I could do this live. So give me 2 seconds. You'll probably still hear my voice, but you probably just won't see me because I'm in the process of plugging this in. But I just needed to do that to make sure I had some juice on the MiFi. All right, so I'm back. So let's see what some of the other comments. Let's see what we got. Emery Harding says, "Hey Joe, I can hear you loud and clear. Nice." Kwame says, "Hi, hope you're well." Hi everyone. What's up, Kwame? Shout out to Amina. Amina, I haven't seen you since I moved back. I'm back in Sierra Leone. I've moved, so we definitely have to catch up. And I have the second part to what we did. If you guys don't know, I interviewed Amina, and I posted it about maybe almost a month ago. So definitely check that out. It was about her move from Saudi Arabia to Sierra Leone, and the differences between the two countries, what she's loved about being here, what some of the challenges are, what she's doing for a living. So definitely check out that interview if you haven't seen it. Highly Favorite says, "Good evening, hosts." Good evening. Thank you. Miss P says, "Hi, Joe." What's up, Miss P? Gladys Sheriff says, "Hi, Joe." What's up, Gladys? And Aisha Ladan is saying, "Audi body, fambul." What's up? No bad, oh. No bad. But it's not easy. Not easy at all. But we're gonna get into it. I also want to acknowledge the folks here at Swiss Hotel. So a friend of mine lives not too far from where we are right now and allowed me to use their MiFi. And I couldn't go back to where I was earlier today to use the MiFi. So last second, I had to ask the folks at Swiss Hotel because they have a generator, they have a light. Obviously, it's a very nice hotel here. I usually work out of this hotel. And shout out to Mariama Forbes, also a content creator. She was the one who put me on the Swiss Hotel in the first place. So I tend to work here from time to time. And so they were gracious enough to allow me to use one of these rooms to do my live from. And I will be interviewing the manager and doing a tour of a room or two, so you guys get a chance to see what this hotel is like. But they have a nice pool outside. I came to a party here called Daytox at the turn of the year, earlier this year. Great vibes, really interesting people here, and always good to bump into people that work out of this hotel. So really good people, and I appreciate them. I'm going to tag them in this video if you care to check them out and see what they're doing if you decide you want to stay here when you're here. Okay, so I did want to just mention that. Cornell Smith is saying, "Saw Joe Boy was there the other day." Joe Boy was here the other day. There was a thumbs up performance. It was about kind of unity between the two political parties and ensuring that there was peaceful and free and fair elections and all of that stuff. So they all met. So they met for that concert, and it was a big concert at Sugarland Beach. I wasn't able to attend. I was at something else earlier in the day, and I had to come back to deal with some plumbing issues at the house. So we'll get into that in a second. Cornell Smith, yes, Joe Boy was here in Freetown. Jerry Campbell says, "Hey Joe, checking in from NYC." What's up, Jerry? Shout out to New York City. All right, what do we got on Instagram really quickly? What's up, MDD? Shout out to MDD joining. CCC Legal says you're tapping in from the UK. Shout out to the UK, people joining from the UK. All right, so Nubian Treasure says thank you for the shout out, of course. Okay, Nubian Treasure Handcrafted, that's the name. Got it. Got you. Got the full name now. From Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to the ATL. I was in Atlanta last year for the first time longer than 24 hours. I've done a couple of like layovers and short stays in Atlanta. Last year I did a whole week in Atlanta. I went to Martin Luther King Museum and all of that. That's still yet to be edited and posted, but I'll share that at some point in time in the future. Douglas Smith said, "My daughter is encouraging me to buy a house over there. What you say you?" I'm always big on buying real estate. I am not a financial planner by any means, and I am not a real estate agent, but I recommend you buy real estate because it is not a finite resource, or it's not an infinite resource. It's a finite resource. And so that means that almost always the value of real estate will go up. And when you think about places that have a natural resources and people vying for those natural resources, that only means that there are going to be more people moving and looking to spend money in regions such as West Africa. And a place like Sierra Leone is less inhabited and also is less well known. And so, as it grows in terms of a destination that people wanting to come to, you'll be able to have bought real estate at a cheaper price than most people can, like in Ghana or Nigeria, where more well known people are more aware of it, right? Even Senegal and Gambia, right? So depending on where you buy, you can buy. Like me and family, we have 5 acres of land we just acquired somewhere near Bokenema area, and that was done for a reasonably okay price. And so it was. We'll say it was less than $7,000. We'll put it that way, right? For 5 acres of land. So I definitely recommend you buy. And you can buy land and sit on it. You can buy and rent it. You can decide what you want to do with it, but buy it for sure. A mentor of mine bought a significant amount of land when he was my age, about 20 years ago. And anytime he wants to make a major purchase, all he does is sell a piece of his land. He built a hotel here in Freetown off of selling a piece of his land. He also bought a $500,000 house cash, was selling a piece of his land. Now, Ghana is a different country, and he bought the land in like 2003 or whatever it was. But you can imagine you can do the same thing in Sierra Leone. It may not be the same multiple, but the return on investment can be pretty incredible. So I definitely recommend it if you are considering it and you have the cash. It's better spent buying it than not spending that money. And if anything, you can always give it to your daughter, and that'll increase in value as she ages. So you're now leaving an asset to her, whether she decides she wants to move into that land and build a house on it, or move into the house if you buy a house, or if she decides she wants to sell it later, you have an asset that you can sell off when the property value is just going to continue to increase. And so that is my recommendation to you. I know it's a long response to the question, but I hope that that's helpful. Let me get to a couple more questions before we start talking about what the last 3 weeks has been like. I think enough people have joined now that we can get into the content today, but I just want to acknowledge some of the people who've been commenting. Gladys Sheriff says, we know saying no easy. Hang in there. All the sacrifices will pay off soon. Thank you. Yes, it's not easy. Catherine Smith says, hey, Joe, hope all is well in Sierra Leone. So glad that you're bringing enlightenment to the country. Of course, absolutely. Jerry Campbell says, wise counsel. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, cool. So Phoenix Mars just joined. Shout out to Phoenix Mars. Jerry Jones is here. Somebody wanted to go live. Patricia Andrews, give me a second. Let's see if there's some time. I'll go live with you at the end. I just want to get through some content today to give people what they came here for. I would love to live on a continent. Tactical Precision Training says, nice. It's an interesting name. I like it. Really kidding. What's up? Okay, cool. So what are we going to talk about today? So you guys, so in successive weeks, it's kind of been an up and down roller coaster. And I started with announcing that I was leaving Ghana, right? I was moving from Ghana to Sierra Leone, right? And I started with that announcement explaining some of the circumstances that led to making me make the decision to move from Ghana to Sierra Leone. And I was speaking mostly to some of the things that were happening in Ghana. Nothing crazy, nothing dramatic. It just made more sense. And then we talked about why I was excited to move here the next week, right? And I kind of did a deep dive into what are some of the things that I was expecting and some of the things that I knew were coming from this stay and why it made sense for me to move. And then we talked about, after I got here, was that first week I had my birthday and I expressed the joy and excitement of being here and what was coming. And then the next live is when I had a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the challenges I was experiencing. I also recently put up a vlog, so you may have seen that says Chaos Continues, the challenges that I was dealing with here in Sierra Leone. And I want to say before anything that I'm clear that the challenges that I experienced were because I did not do enough research beforehand. Now, you guys might say, well, Joe, you have a channel called Authentic African and you visited Sierra Leone so many times. How could you have not known what questions to ask? And it was because I made some assumptions, which you never make assumptions, but I made some assumptions based on um, some of the knowledge that I had, and there were so many positives that far outweighed what the potential negatives could be, that I moved without really asking some specific details. So, for instance, a question about whether the second room was furnished, if there was AC in the second room, how was the internet, how is the light situation? These are all things that I didn't ask deep questions about because the previous tenant was a friend of my housemate and worked at a major bank here, and so some of those things just seemed like uh, it was a no brainer. I later came to discover that there were some things that were lacking only because um, the previous tenant was comfortable with us with certain things um, that I'm not as comfortable with, let's say, necessarily. And so that was all on me. All right. So I should have done that research. I should have asked those questions. And I want to be very clear that I still prefer to be here than anywhere else in the world, even with the challenges that I've dealt with. This is going to be very clear on that. I loved my stay in Ghana, and I love living in Ghana, and the people that I know there and the relationships that I built there, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But Sierra Leone is home, right? And so I really I love being here, despite some of the challenges that I've had and that I've encountered. Um, I'm going to start with today because I think today is a good it's like a microcosm of what the overall trip has been and the lessons that I had to learn. So you guys can get a little bit of an understanding of what it can be like. So I was supposed to go live somewhere else, and through no fault of their own, there were some challenges with the internet connectivity, and I think a lot of it had to do with weather. And just today, the internet connectivity wasn't so great. And so we had worked it out that I was going to go live there. I was there for a meeting, and I got a chance to see two people connect on a business level, which I was really excited to see. And I'm not going to get too much into the details of all of that, but it was good to be around for that discussion and to help maybe fostered that potential relationship business wise, right? So that was all good. And so, but that was there for a while. Then I met some other great people. You meet interesting people at that place, and unfortunately, the conversation went on much longer than I anticipated because that's what happens here, right? You just start talking, and before you know it, 4 hours has gone by. And so I had to make an executive decision about where I was going to go live, and so I had to go borrow a MiFi from a friend of mine. But once I went to borrow the MiFi, at the time in which I got there, it was about 8:25. And so, regardless of whether or not I take a bike or whatever else, just where else am I going to go that has consistent lights and that I could get to quickly? And so I had to think on my feet, and I said, okay, Swiss Hotel is not too far away from there. I think if I express to them that I'll be mentioning Swiss Hotel on the live, so it's free promotion for the hotel, and that like the size of my audience and what I'm working on and what I'm about, and the fact that I actually want to interview the manager and do a tour of a room here, they may be accommodating. I was lucky because I got here at 8:41 and I had to go live at 9 o'clock. So that explanation had to happen within 10 minutes. And at 8:57, I think is when I walked into this room. And so that's why as I got on the live, I had to plug everything in. So that's just that's how things can go here, right? You're gonna have to think on your feet. Now, I did have a backup if they didn't agree to allow me to use this place, but I didn't have to use the backup, and it worked out. So, but that's kind of how you have to be. You have to think on your feet, and you have to be prepared at a moment's notice to pivot, right? Because all day today, I expected to go live from one place, and within the last 2 hours, I had to figure out where else I was going to go live from. And so that's just the name of the game, right? So while you're here, those are things that you're going to need to know. I like to use, instead of using anecdotes, I like to use actual real stories so you guys know what's happening for me in real time. So you know how I've made the decisions and what you might need to do if you need to make decisions. I mean, everybody's experience is different. Not everybody goes live every single Monday night at 9 p.m. GMT. But if you are someone who uses the internet frequently, these are things you're going to have to think about, and you're going to have to figure out backup plans. So, um, is that an ideal scenario to be in? No. You know, if you guys have followed me for a while, you know that when I'm in Sierra Leone, I go live from a different location almost every other week. When I was in Ghana, I went live from the same location all of the time. Shout out to Jaden, my nephew Jaden, 16-year-old Jaden the King is his name on IG. What's up, Jaden? So yeah, so when I was in Ghana, you saw that I was going live from the same location almost all the time, unless I was going live with Masa and Kenya, because we would go live from their place because they weren't coming all the way to Chado to meet up with me. So I would go all the way to where they were. But for the most part, I would go live from the same place because I had two MiFis and two fiber connections at home. So I had all the backups, I had backup on backup on backup. When I got here, I'm still navigating through how to get all of that, and also ensuring that I have the necessary power and connection to be able to stay live and for you guys to all be able to see me. You guys don't know this, but there's a ring light. Maybe you can see it in the glasses. There's a ring light behind me. So, you know, you need to be in a well-lit room, and you need to have a ring light so that people can see you. And so, you can't do that if there are power outages wherever you're at, right? And so I just wanted to be clear that there were some things that I had to figure out so that I could do this. All right. I also had to be able to have outlets to plug everything in, and also backup internet. They have their own internet, and I'm using a MiFi right now. Okay, so that's today. That's just today. So let me give you some of the updates. So there were three major issues at the house when I moved in, and I mentioned this to you guys before, and I'll go through them again. So one was the internet, two was the water, and three was the power. And so I'm going to do a vlog about this and kind of the next stages in the process. Some of you guys have seen the previous vlog. So water, we got water, guys. We have water. Let me tell you guys something. I've lived many different places in my life. I've lived in Pennsylvania, I've lived in Florida, I've lived in New York, I've lived in LA. I've also lived in Ghana, and I've lived in now technically Sierra Leone, and I've spent time in many other places: India, Germany, England, Spain, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, like extended periods of time in all these countries. And I will say, the place that has had the most challenges with light has been Sierra Leone and Nigeria, right? I was only in Lagos, so don't kill me, guys, if you have better light outside of Lagos. I was on Victoria Island, but I didn't really have good connectivity. And so you have to build out contingencies to deal with that. And if you don't have great power, then there are like second and third order impacts. So for instance, food that's in the fridge, right? So I have a housekeeper that cooked food for me on a Wednesday. It went bad by Friday because we didn't have long enough power that week that happened, so that I could eat the food fast enough so that, when you guys know, if you guys know me, I do meal prep, right? So I used to have someone cook for me twice a week. My housekeeper in Ghana, she would cook for me twice a week, and I'd have food for 7 days, right? And so now that is not the case. I eat my food. I have to cook smaller amounts and eat it in a shorter time span in order to ensure that my food gets eaten for right now until we have a backup source of power. And so, so we've looked into a few different options because also we have internet connectivity that requires a power connection. So the internet also goes out frequently because of that, and my MiFi situation is not the best. So we've looked at a couple of different companies, and so there's a few companies that are here, and I'm gonna do a live at some point where I walk through the different companies. But there's Easy Solar, there's another company called Synergy Solar, there's Orange. I showed you guys some of these on the live the last time I was live. Where I'm staying right now, the housemate, my roommate, he actually had a solar company that he worked with previously in the last apartment that he lived in. So we're probably just going to re-up with those folks and reuse their power, use their power. They have a reasonable system that you can use. So it's something that I want to tell you guys that I think could be really helpful for you all. We've mentioned this on the last live or two lives ago. When it comes to solar, The solar panels, all they're doing is charging a battery. So at night, you're running power on a battery or multiple batteries, right? And I think many of you guys know this. Some of you guys may know this. Some of you guys may not know this. But the solar power itself is not what the power that's running your house. The solar panels are charging a battery. The battery is what runs the power in your house. I explain that because I think it's important to understand. Solar panels can be an expensive part of the process. And so instead of buying a generator, you can actually go to a solar company and just get the batteries and have the batteries connected to the EDSA, which is the local electric company. And you can have the electric company charging your batteries. So when light goes out, you just use the battery charge. So you don't actually need to use a solar panel, especially during the rainy season where there may be times where you have limited light. So I want to give you guys that as an option so that as you're doing your research and you're looking for solar companies, you understand that like if your budget is constrained and you don't have the ability to maybe buy all of the elements, like you tell them what you need and they're like, oh, to outfit your home, it's going to cost you $3,000. And you're just like, whoa, that's if you get sticker shock with that price, know that in general, if you just want to make sure your devices are charged, maybe your TV works, and maybe you can turn on fans, then you could just use a battery, maybe two batteries, depending on the size of the batteries, and use that to power your house. Also, I would say this: get used to freezing food. If you don't have a backup supply source or strong enough backup supply source, get used to putting your food in the freezer and thawing it out and eating that way. So what I've done is I used to eat fruit, um, put in the fridge, eat it the next day for breakfast, right? Or the next couple of days for breakfast. Because of the power issues and because my fruit went bad that week, I started putting it in the freezer, and now I just blend it and just drink it as a smoothie. So it already is like has ice on it, and you pour a little water in there. You put in the a blender, and you drink it as a smoothie. So that's been the solution that I had there. So I learned quickly that that was the option that I had, and so I did that. And so that, but we're working on a power situation. We're just trying to work out the details of what makes the most sense. We're shopping around. We're looking at different companies, and we're making a decision shortly on who we're going to go with. We've already had one solar company come by and do kind of a site survey, look at everything and say what they think we can do, what they think they can do, how much it would cost, all of that kind of stuff. We're going to have a couple other solar companies come and do the same thing, and we decide what makes sense. We could potentially go with them. So that's the power situation. So those are some of the solutions. That's what we're looking at. We haven't fully solved for that yet. What I haven't talked about, I guess, is the water situation. And the water situation is an interesting one. So the water situation actually is was not as dire as we initially thought it was. It really just was this. We have a tank up, and a previous tenant didn't use the tank because she realized that every time she would fill water up in the tank and turn on her faucet, her water would run out within 24 hours, right? And she thought that there was a leak, and apparently there might have been a leak, but the leak had been fixed, but it's still the water was running out quickly. What we found was that there's actually a store or a shop, a storefront that shares the same water supply as the unit that we're living in. And so they were getting access to free water. And so that's why her water was running out quickly. But it took a really good plumber. Shout out to Shadowboxer. And he recommended his plumber. And his plumber, of course, I recommend to anyone. And I'll make his information available if you guys are looking for a plumber. But his plumber actually discovered what the issue was. Like he just went around, did some research, and which now that I had him come and do this, it all seems to be very obvious, but he really did a great job of making it very clear what the challenges were. And so he structured it in a way so that's all fixed and all good. And so we set that up, and now we have flowing water. I mean, the joy you should have seen on my face when I turned it on and the water flew out. I was like, it was like, it kind of reminded me of when I think the last time I felt like that was I think in 1998 when my mom bought me a PlayStation. I think that was the last time I felt like that kind of like surprise and joy from something so small, you know? But yeah, I was like, wow, running water. So we're good to go on the running water now. And so honestly, it shouldn't be that difficult. It was just there weren't competent plumbers coming and doing a survey of what was going on. And so that's really important. That's what I want to offer to you guys, people like that, right? So, as I go through trial and error and discovering the different challenges that I'm going through, what did Jay-Z say? Hove did that so you won't have to go. Wait, what did it say? Hove did that. Anyway, the idea is that I'm going through it so you don't have to go through it. I can't believe I forgot the Jay-Z lyrics. But that's the idea. I went through that so you don't have to go through it. And so the idea is that I'll be able to help folks who are looking to transition to moving to the continent to be able to make better decisions, to know what questions to ask, and what resources you might need in terms of plumbers, electricians, folks who are service workers, to help you be able to have a smoother transition and a softer landing, as they say. Before I move on to the next topic, let me look at some of the questions and comments. So Remy says, I recently moved to Sierra Leone. It definitely takes getting used to, but loving so many aspects of it. Best advice I was given is to lower your expectations. Sierra Leone is not there yet, especially with tech. Taking it one day at a time, one challenge at a time. Very good advice you were given, and that's great advice for sure. Remy also says, also before we move, we shipped our solar over and set it up so we have backup solar power. Nicely done. Those are the things you need to plan ahead. Yes. She also mentions that I should try a WeSpace on Wilkinson Road in Freetown. I haven't gone there yet, but you're right. That's something that was recommended to me by someone. So I will go check them out. Kwame says everything will work itself out bit by bit. 100%, I agree. Also says, wow, that's very interesting about the batteries. Oh yeah, so the battery life, the solar life and battery. I think most people, which I also thought that before I started coming to Sierra Leone, that the solar energy was what was powering the house. I didn't know that it was just charging a battery, which I don't think most people talk about that, right? When they talk about solar, most people don't know that you're just charging a battery and the battery power is what you're living off of. And I should have known that because I know someone who was using a car battery to power their house, which is a whole nother conversation for another time. Patrick Real Estate says freezing fruits destroys the fiber in them. I am aware. It is not ideal. But I am a plant-based person. I eat plant-based. So my option right now is to freeze them. Kwame says, I like you being positive about the challenges. Absolutely. Listen, there's a silver lining to everything. I'm not a person who just complains. I know the thumbnail might seem like that and the title might seem like that, but that's to draw people in so I can show you guys the solutions and also let you guys know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not actually that bad. But that's how YouTube works. I'm very transparent about that. Oh, Hove did that. So hopefully you won't have to go through that. That's on H to the Izzo. Thank you, Walmsley. See, I love how you guys always add value to the discussion. So that was what I was trying to say. Hove did that. So hopefully you won't have to go through that. So the idea here is Joe did that. So hopefully you won't have to go through that. And you can imagine every time there's a Jay-Z lyric and he says Hove, I definitely change the lyrics to say Joe. Yes, I do that. Kwame says, I really love your name. Thank you. Joannis is the full name. Yes. Joannis Bemba Hatagwa, if anybody's interested, that's the full name. Okay, what do we got? Gladys is saying something, but for whatever reason, I can't share it on the screen. My computer what's going on? My computer's overheating right now. Okay, let's try that again. Is this the year of return for Sierra Leone? Interesting question, Gladys. So we don't actually have a year of return type situation. We have homecoming. We have different things like that. It's a little bit different because the branding is different. I think Sierra Leone should have a version of that because it's one of the furthest west places that the slave trade happened. And Sierra Leone also kind of had a homecoming because if you guys know anything, real quick history lesson. Sorry, guys, it's a little off tangent, but I think it's important to know. If you know anything about Freetown, it was founded by British abolitionists and freed enslaved Africans from Nova Scotia and other parts of the Caribbean and other parts of the States and other places. And so I'm half Creole, 25% Creole. And so that is a tribe here in Sierra Leone. It's a newer tribe, but the language that's mostly spoken here is Creole. And Freetown was actually founded by many of the Creole tribes. So So yeah, so there's kind of always been a return to Sierra Leone, considering the Creole tribe has come back, and then there are many folks from the Gullah Geechee tribe and many other folks. So there is no specific year of return type situation, but the idea of this homecoming and getting your citizenship, if you have Sierra Leonean heritage, kind of works like that. But that's happening every year, twice a year. There's kind of like two different cohorts of people that come in like the April time period and the November time period to come and get their citizenship if you have Sierra Leonean ancestry, if you do the African ancestry test. Hopefully that answers your question, but there isn't technically a year of return. But I think any year should be a year you return to Sierra Leone. Absolutely. And I'm a big proponent of that. I'm going to keep pushing that because I'm here. Right? I live here now. Walmsley says, thanks for all the great content, Joe. Thank you. Walmsley. Thank you, Walmsley, for watching, for sure. Kwame says, thank you, Kwabena, for something that Kwabena said. Oh, I thought somebody was saying they like my name. They were saying they like Kwabena's name. Sorry. Okay, No Narrative says, hey, Joe, I think I missed a lot. I'll catch the replay. Nice to see you as always. Nice to see you as well. Thanks for joining. A familiar face that's been around for a while, so I appreciate you joining. Knowledge Seeker says, hi, can you talk on the cotton tree? I can, as much as I can. So let me do a brief mention of the cotton tree in Sierra Leone, and I definitely encourage you all to look it up. Sierra Leone has a few landmarks, and one of them was the cotton tree. The cotton tree is in the city center. I think it's over 200 years ago. Somebody was telling me, and it's just always been a symbol here in Sierra Leone. I don't have all the details of what it was a symbol of, but anybody who's done any one of the tours, the African ancestry tours, or any of the other tours, Dory's tour, I think Dynastis tour, all the different tours, everyone took pictures of the cotton tree. And this weekend, the cotton tree fell in a rainstorm. So this has been a symbol of Sierra Leone, something that people know about Sierra Leone, and it's no longer, right? So people are taking pieces of it. I know people who have a piece of it. I'm actually going to do a longer video on the history of the cotton tree and what it meant to Sierra Leone and what it means to have lost a symbol like that. And I'm going to do some research on what they're planning to do as kind of like a replacement. But yeah, it was a big deal that the cotton tree fell this last weekend. And a lot of people are mourning it as if they're mourning the loss of a loved one. You know, it's I don't know how else to describe it. I think maybe like if you're in the States, if maybe something like, I don't know, what's something that's symbolic? I don't know, maybe the Washington Monument. I don't know what it would be because I don't really know how people how attached to certain things in America people are, because I didn't really have an attachment to anything really inherently American like that, except just the idea of having an American passport. But just figure out whatever that might be to you, and imagine that's been a staple for so long being gone, you know. And it was a living thing, right? It's a tree. It was a living tree. So to see it die, and there's actually a death of a living something, I think, okay, Statue of Liberty, that's a good point. Knowledge Seeker says Statue of Liberty. Aisha Ladan says the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, I think the Statue of Liberty is a good example, right? That's what the United States is known for, right? When people came over on the, you guys are going to tell me, I know you're going to tell me, Ellis Island, that's one of the first things you see is the Statue of Liberty. So yeah, I mean, yeah, somebody else. So Walmsley saying the same thing. It's kind of like the Statue of Liberty. So imagine the Statue of Liberty falling over, right? That would be, it's that kind of symbolic monument here in Sierra Leone. So I actually I passed the cotton tree. I've walked past it. I've driven past it hundreds of times. And I've never taken a picture in front of it. So I have no pictures or no footage of the cotton tree as it stood. I have other people's footage that they shared with me that I'll be able to use, but unfortunately, I myself did not have that experience. And now that I'm living with a little bit of regret around it because it's now fallen. But I'm still going to go and see if maybe potentially I could get at least a piece of it and something that I can shine it, you know, memorialize it in some way. Okay. So that was a good question. I'm glad you asked me, Patrick, to talk about the cotton tree. Everyone's saying it's like the Statue of Liberty. Abu Bakar said the same thing. Um, Kwame and Kwabena are talking about their names. Cornell Smith says, that's too funny. I was thinking, okay, you guys are all on this name thing. All right, so at least Aisha's saying the Statue of Liberty has a big history to us as well. Not many know. It was a gift and has chains to that represent slavery on it. Wow. Okay, I was not aware of that piece. What is Kwame saying? The cotton tree story was on World Service News about what happened the other day. Wow. You know me, I have to hydrate. Okay, so let me just get into the Instagram comments if there are any that I might have missed. Douglas Smith, I asked you about buying. What do you think about the older Americans moving to the motherland? It's a great question. So, okay, here's what I say to older Americans moving to the motherland. I would say this. You know, there are a couple things that you need to keep in mind when you move here, right? So, as you age, you tend to make more frequent visits to healthcare professionals, right? So it's going to be really important for you to find people that you're comfortable with, who you can bring all of your medical history to, and you feel comfortable with being able to help you navigate the health challenges that come with aging, right? Um, for example, everybody I know who's a baby boomer leaves the country and goes back to the country in which they raise their kids or whatever for healthcare, right? So they go and do their yearly physical or twice yearly physicals with their primary care physicians outside of here. Now, I had a primary care physician in Ghana that I went to, and I also have a primary care physician that I have in Beverly Hills as well. And so, you know, when I was in the States last year, I went there. When I was in Ghana, I went to them, just because I've gone with a completely plant-based lifestyle, and I like to get my blood taken and kind of do checkups and just see how I'm progressing, if there's any changes. I also have a factor 7 blood deficiency, which I don't actually talk about much, but I do. And so I discovered that when I was getting knee surgery. And so those are some of the things that for me, it requires a hematologist to be able to look at my numbers from time to time to just ensure that everything's all good, you know? And so, so that's something you have to think about. Also, as you age, sometimes you gain more patience, sometimes you get less patience. And so you're going to need to be very patient. And also, you're going to need to have energy to be able to move on the fly and make changes quickly. So, you know, I think that that's something that I think people take for granted, you know. Yeah, so I would say those are some of the things. But I think some of the other things that you have to your benefit is you have a lifetime of experience, which means that you can probably figure out things a lot easier than other people who don't have as much experience as you. I think you also have, you likely have more finances, right? So you'll be able to be maybe more comfortable when you make the move, so you can have a softer landing because of your finances. So, I mean, I think it all depends on the individual. But that would be how I'd answer that question. I hope that's a answer. But I think what a better way to do this is there are some folks that I do know who are in the baby boomer generation who moved to Ghana recently, and I'd love to talk to them a little bit more about their experience and have them tell you their experience. Because I myself, of course, although I say mina olpa, I'm getting older, I haven't reached retirement age yet. About 30 years from that or so. And so I don't know exactly what it might be like for you, but that's from a high level perspective, without knowing you personally or knowing the specific circumstances of the individual. That's the best I could do for now. But I'd love to bring someone on, which I'm working on now, so that they can speak to what that might be like for them. And I think it'd be interesting for everyone to hear like what it's like for an older person. And I want to do two different people. I want to do like a married couple and then a single person, so you can get an idea of what it might be like for them as someone who's reached a more advanced age, or is more mature, I should say. Kwabena says, please don't forget Ghana. We miss you very much. I'm never going to forget Ghana. Okay, Ghana has been pivotal to my journey on the continent. You know, my first job on the continent was in Ghana. The people who actually helped convince me to move to the continent were people that was applying to work at a company called Mest. And at the time, the director of marketing She was a very big proponent for, and she actually helped me with my social media manager for much of what you see on Instagram. Came from a relationship that I developed from someone who was living in Ghana. So I can't forget Ghana. It's a big part of my story. It's where I started my YouTube channel, right? So yeah, I'll never forget Ghana. Patrick Real Estate says, can you give an update on your business endeavors? Yeah, I'll do that in a second. Let me just go back to the three of the three challenges. So I went through light, I went through water. I want to go through internet. So in the vlog, by the way, we'll go in more detail. You guys would be able to see it firsthand. Actually, I was editing it, some of it the other day. So maybe this week or next week it'll come out. All right. So the last challenge I'm going to mention is the internet that I've been having. And this is an ongoing one. So we've been looking into fiber. K3 was a company that I talked to. It's a Swiss company. There are other folks. I mentioned this. Creole Bobo is a guy who's here. He uses them, and he goes live, has no issues. And so I was going to use them for fiber. But two things. One, they don't service my area for fiber. And in order to install, I guess, cordless internet, they needed consistent light. And every time I communicated with them or they communicated with me, light went, and it didn't make sense for them to come because they can't set anything up if there's no light. They can't connect the internet to see if it's actually working. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. So it looks like we're going to have to figure out the backup power situation first before we are able to upgrade the internet situation. So until then, I'm going to be using alternative sources for the internet, namely MiFi's, and getting additional SIM cards for my device so that I can tether off my phone for the internet. So that's the plan. That's the plan. So, okay, so those were the three challenges, right? So we talked about water, we talked about internet, we talked about power, we talked about today. So you got a chance to see what I had to do to make things work. The business endeavors. So there are a number of business endeavors that we've discussed. And I think one of the lessons that I've learned, and I think this is a really good lesson for all of you out there who are planning to do business on the continent of Africa. I had this conversation with a friend of mine who's opening up a shop. And she said she is not going to announce anything until everything is ready. Everything, all the shop is done. Everything is in the shop, like, because she's selling furniture. And so she wanted to ensure that everything, is there. And I remember we talked about it, and she was just like, when she opened up another store previously, she was under a lot of pressure to get everything up and going because she announced it before everything was ready. And there's so many things outside of your control. And there are just going to be some unforeseen circumstances, right? I mean, anytime in business, nothing is linear, right? I'm sure you guys have seen that meme that says what people think entrepreneurship is like versus what entrepreneurship really is like, right? So it's not a linear direct line. It's all over the place. And I got so excited about so many different things. I started announcing them earlier. I mean, in January, I think I announced, the e-commerce store was coming back. I'm going to be bringing on third-party sellers. I've even told the people who I want to be third-party sellers, I'm ready for them to come on. And then as life happens, I ran into external factors that slowed down that process, right? So I've decided to focus on what I can control. And that's why I'm focusing on the consulting now, because that's all on me, at least consulting here. Because, by the way, there was consulting that I talked about doing in Ghana, right? I think I did a live and I talked about how do you find a good business partner to work with. And unfortunately, the person that I was supposed to work with was dealing with some family health challenges. And 1 week became 2 weeks, 2 weeks became 2 months. And we still today haven't finalized the partnership. The ink isn't dry, and we haven't fully worked out all the details. And it was going to be everything from airport concierge services, right? You land at the airport, somebody takes you right to immigration, deal with none of the BS, whatever. They help you with your bags. You just sit down and just chill. Your bags are received for you, and they take you out to getting a vehicle to drop you off at wherever your location is. Everything from airport concierge to getting residency to getting a visa on arrival, a number of different things that I was looking to offer to Ghanaians. or people coming to Ghana. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It's just delayed. With the e-commerce store, the launch of the marketplaces, that also was delayed because a number of other external factors. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it's delayed, and so that's been delayed. There was also the business of shipping products. Remember we did a live where I showed you guys the different options for the logo and went through the different options for the logo, and there were a lot of questions about or a lot of responses about which logo we should use, and we landed on one. I'm really excited about launching that. And then I found other external factors that were, what do they say, cost prohibitive, right? Which really means that it doesn't make sense business-wise to utilize the partners that I was talking to under the understanding that I had of the services and the cost associated with it. So all of these things are on hold for now, except for the basic levels of consulting here in Sierra Leone. So if you have questions, you want to do one-on-one sessions with me about buying real estate, you want to ask me questions about that. If you have one-on-one questions about moving here, if you have questions, those are things that I will offer, 1-hour sessions and things like that, obviously at a fee for people who want to do that. And I will do that because, and then eventually what I'd like to do is do private lives for people who want to pay like a monthly reoccurring charge, maybe like $5 a month. And we'll do private lives where you can hear other people's direct questions specific to what they want to do. I'll do the research. If I don't have the information offhand, I can get it from people here on ground. Because one of the challenges you'll find is many of the things that you're looking for, you will not be able to find on the internet. And that was something that I discovered. My sister was like, how do I get my citizenship? What do I need? What do my kids need? And I forgot what I did. And I went to look it up. And it was very difficult to figure out. And I'm not going through African ancestry or one of those other things because both my parents were born in Sierra Leone. And so I had to talk to other people, and we found out what the process is like. But we just need to make sure it makes sense also for her kids. And I don't know what that looks like. So we're working through some details there. But that's only something you can find out if you're on the ground, you ask the right people, and they can give you those answers. So so the consulting business here in Sierra Leone is slowly but surely launching. Another business that I've also the merchandise business, still coming, also delayed. So I will be doing merch. So like shirts with the logo, the authentic African logo, which you see on the upper right-hand corner here. And if you're following on Instagram, you see in the profile picture. I just think that logo is strong. I may never even change it, I'll just leave it like that. But I think it looks good on a shirt. So shirts with the logo. Also, I have some other ideas about stolen artifacts that are going to go on shirts. Maybe things about before slavery, hints on some things about the Moors and things like that. Those are all things that are going to be coming, and you'll see that as merchandise. So those are all things that are coming that will be available for purchase by you all or whoever else. And then lastly, I wanted to mention, I went to the merch, and there was something that I knew that I wanted to get back to, but I went to merch, and then I forgot what I wanted to just mention. Let me answer some questions, and I know to come back to me. Walmsley Johnson Cole says, question on the internet, is Starlink in Sierra Leone? I know it's in a few other African countries. I do not think Starlink is here. I'm pretty sure Starlink is not here. I'll have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure it's not here. I don't even think it's in Ghana. Yeah. Patrick Real Estate says, Quaben and Cornell. Patrick Real Estate, have you thought about giving group tours in Sierra Leone? I've thought about it. And it was a quick thought. I went from thinking about it to not thinking about it. And here's why. If you know anything about me, I'm very big on low overhead, low capital intensive businesses. So like I started an e-commerce store, which was drop shipping. So meaning I had a warehouse that I could access products from. And then my store is the storefront. Most of the general public doesn't know about this warehouse. So they would buy from me at retail, and I could buy from the warehouse and have them ship it to you, right? That was like my first successful entrepreneurial endeavor, was starting a real estate site. Starting real estate site. I'm looking at your name, real estate. Starting an e-commerce site and selling products, right? And it was cannabis adjacent e-commerce store, and it got shut down by my advertising got shut down by Facebook, and it was a whole story. That's a conversation for another time. But that's actually what led to me starting the Authentic African Instagram page and e-commerce site. Um, but yeah, so group tours are challenging for a number of different reasons. One, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, and you're dealing with, for many people, a brand new climate for them. And so, as Americans, we're complainers, right? It's just what it is. And so I'm not 100% sure I'm ready to deal with that on a frequent basis. And not only that, it's not something that, as especially here, is not something that is easy to scale, right? And it requires overhead, right? You need to have people, you need to have staff there along with the people to go along on these tours. I'm very big on low overhead businesses where we can maximize output, and so I just don't think that that makes sense for me, because there's a lot of headaches associated with it. And then the challenge is there are so many elements that are outside of your control as the tour operator, and you get blamed as the tour operator, right? And so I'm not sure I'm ready for that. And so what I prefer to do is partner with tour operators, which is what I'm in the process of doing now. We're having the early stage discussions where I could potentially bring them people who want to go on tours, and we maybe split and do a revenue share. So there's some things like that that I'm looking into. So I'll have some that I could recommend, but I don't know if I myself will do group tours. However, I do plan on going on tours with other people. So if you want to go on a tour with me, I'll let you guys know what tours I'm going on and when I'm going and where they're going to be, because some of them are going to be in other African countries. And so if you think that might be interesting, that could be where we finally do our meet and greets, right, in person at some of these places. Because my travels to the United States are going to be much more infrequent. It's not going to be like last year where I was in the States for almost 4 months, 3 months in the States last year. That's because I was working for a company that was sponsoring those trips, and I'm no longer working for that company, so I'm less likely to be in the States. So it's less likely that we'll be able to do in-person meetups. And I know we weren't able to make that happen last year, and my apologies on that, because factors outside of my control and some of the things we were dealing with in terms of loss and everything. We're not going to get into that. It's sad stories, but so just those things just didn't happen. And so more likely those things could happen on tour experiences, because that's something I want to do. I want to share in those tours. I want to create content around them. And that's one of the packages I'm offering to folks who want to advertise their businesses around tours, is advertising it to this audience and going on these trips with them. I know there's a long way to answer the question, but you're not the first person to ask that, and it comes up frequently. People here ask me that all the time. People on these lives ask me that. Family members and friends always ask me that. And I'm just not, I don't think that I can host them myself, but I definitely am down to go on some. And I just talked to someone today who I'm potentially going to be going on their tours in November. And then I'm going to do another potential tour somewhere else in December. And so I will announce all of that. And so if you guys want to go on those tours, you can come with me and I'll tell you about those. Okay. So the different businesses we were talking about, I was talking about the consulting business. I was talking about merch. I was talking about, okay. So with the consulting business here, some of the other things, so buying real estate, getting your driver's license, many things like that here in Sierra Leone are things that I want to offer help with, right? If you're planning to come here, you want to get a driver's license locally, I can, or, I know people who know people, right? So family members of mine know people who work in the, I can't remember, the transportation authority, whatever you call it. And, it's all through the proper channels, right? Like, this is not any like under the table type stuff. This is all through the proper channels. I don't play around with that stuff. Like, if I'm going to offer a service, it needs to be through the proper channels. There may be things we can do to expedite the process, yes, but this is all through the proper channels. Everything is done above board, the proper stamps, proper signatures, all of that. These are the things that I want to do. Help you register a business here in Sierra Leone. I've registered a business here in Sierra Leone. I've opened a bank account here. I'm getting my driver's license maybe later this week, early next week here in Sierra Leone. And so all of that will be documented on video. So you can see what the process looks like from a high level. And I can list out all those processes too. But if you want somebody to do it on your behalf, that is something that I am working to do. So yes, I'm lucky that my voice is working all of a sudden because I was losing my voice earlier today. I was in mid discussion and it was cracking and going away. Sorry guys, I gotta hydrate. I did not drink enough water today. All right, so I just want to see if there's any questions or comments on Instagram. I've been neglecting Instagram for a little while, so give me a second, guys, on YouTube as I reach up here and look. And I have really long arms because this phone is far away. What's going on? All right, what's up? Is there anything I missed here? It doesn't look like it. Yeah, I think we are all set on the Instagram questions and comments. I usually tell people how to get over to the YouTube live if you're on Instagram, but today was one of those days, man. A lot of last minute executive decisions had to be made. So my link tree doesn't even have the link to this direct live in it right now, because it's been one of those days. But grateful for this day. It's been a great day. Just some challenges. Okay. So Lenora is saying, would you provide a recommended tour list? I would. And Lenora, since you and I have a personal relationship, well, sort of personal relationship, we have communicated before. Just email me and I'll give you my recommended tour list. But for the rest of the folks, because I do need to monetize these kinds of things, I will be putting that in a travel guide, Sierra Leone travel guide. I think I've showed you guys the covers of what the travel guides might look like, right? A few weeks back. The list of tours that I recommend will be in the travel guide, and the travel guide will be for sale in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. But Lenora, you have been a great help to me. We've had great conversations. We've communicated personally. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll send you who I recommend. Okay. It's 10:02, and I'm at 15% battery life on that laptop. And there are other things plugged in that is keeping me from being able to plug in my laptop. So let me let's answer a little more questions, some more things. Okay, so let's see. Lenora says, take travel guide would be amazing. Yeah. So and just so you guys know, I'm doing travel guides on the following countries as of right now, because I have either relationships with people who have a ton of insight that they've given me for the travel guide, or I personally experienced it myself because I've been there. Egypt, Tanzania, Kenya. So that's outside of West Africa. Within West Africa, it's going to be Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone. So that's 6. I feel like is there one more I'm missing? Yeah, that's it for now. So those are the travel guides that will be coming out this year. As I travel to more places on the continent, I'm definitely going to do Senegal. I'm definitely going to do Gambia. Of course, I have to go to Morocco. It's just on the list of places to go. I have to go to South Africa. I have to go. There's no question. So these were all places that I'm going to be doing travel guides for, and it's going to be a very similar process, right? Recommended different things and why. To go along with that, I'm also going to be working on itineraries. So I know a lot of you guys, or a lot of you people, folks, 2023, right? You want to make sure you address people correctly. A lot of you folks tend to go places and try to reach out to a friend, like, what should I do? What night should I go to this? What? Because like for instance, here at Scarlet, right, is a club here in Freetown. Every night is not the night for Scarlet, right? There's specific nights. Sometimes it's Friday nights, sometimes it's Saturday night, things like that. So those are the kinds of things. So I'm putting together itineraries for folks too. So that'll be separate from the travel guide. The travel guide will just give you the top places for different things: food, vegan food, hotel accommodations, Airbnbs, and the links, all that kind of stuff, right? The stuff that you guys ask me in the comments or ask me here, that will all be in the travel guide. You can buy it for $19.99, and it tells you everything you need to know. Then, of course, there will also be a itinerary that you can buy separately if you want. And if you buy them as a combo pack, it's like $30 for both. And you can just literally plan out your trip based on the itinerary. And so those are the kinds of things that I want to offer to people. especially at scale, right? Because I can't answer those questions directly for every single person. So you'll be able to go to my site and actually purchase it as a digital product and download it. And now it's on your device, or like whether it's on your phone or on your laptop or desktop or whatever. I want to make those available to people. And so, and of course, I have to monetize this somehow, some way, right? I mean, I'm always transparent with you guys, and that's one of the things that I'm doing, and I'm putting some work into it. A good friend of mine, Chazine Pemberton. You know what? Shout out to Cece. Let me shout out Chazine. I want you guys to see what a travel guide could potentially look like, or where you can find one. I can actually show you the travel guide, but I'll show you her travel guide so you get an idea of what I'm doing. Let me see if I can find the Barbados. If anybody's planning to go to Barbados travel guide, um, let's see if I can just find it with a quick Google search. Um, yeah, here it is. She got a YouTube video on it and everything. Let's share my screen really quickly. Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope this doesn't give anybody anxiety to see the millions of tabs that I have open. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. And I do have to get out of here in the next couple of minutes because I'm at 11%. But also, I did say I was going to be here for an hour. And so we are far past 1 hour. Can you guys see my screen? Right now, I can't see my screen, but can you guys see my screen? It's saying that I could. It's saying I could. Okay. Oh, infinite scroll. Sorry, infinite loop. Let me quickly move over to another window. Hopefully now you guys are seeing what I want you guys to see. Sorry if you're on Instagram and you can't see it. Just jump over to YouTube and join the YouTube live if you want to watch along. So, so this is Chazine's, and of course, the internet's slowly but surely loading it. So here's her travel guide. I think there's a table of contents here. She doesn't give you the everything because obviously you need to buy it, but this gives you a little idea. You know what? Let me put the link. Let me just put the link in the chat. You guys can check it out so you get an idea of what a travel guide might look like that I'm doing. She's a good friend of mine. We went to college together. She's a content creator, and you know, her and I talked about these travel guides, and she put hers out already. And so I'm working to do mine as well. Let me just put the link here. You guys can check it out on your own. But yeah, so definitely check out her her travel guide. I think that'll be really helpful for you guys to see what it might look like if you decide you want to go to Barbados one day. Okay. Lenora says, I recommend adding the fees without the price due to the subject change you would encounter in the travel guide. Oh, subject to change. I get it. So like fees for the different things that are out there, like everything that I'm recommending. That's a good point. I'll make sure to do that. Okay, guys, I'd love to keep this going, but I am limited on time here. My device is at 7%, and I've kind of overstayed my welcome. I was supposed to be done at 10, and it's 10:09. But I want to thank you guys all for joining. As always, I appreciate you all. Hopefully this was helpful to everyone, or at least interesting. But yeah, so, a couple things really quickly. So this past week, I did a tour of Capital Limited, a factory here that produces cocoa and exports and other things. They produce these Sierra waters. In fact, the room that I'm staying has Sierra water, you know, this brand of water that people are pretty familiar with here. So I did a tour of their factory, and we actually saw, I might have seen this actual bottle produced. I actually saw how these are produced. Really interesting to see that here in Sierra Leone. And so I went to the factory, saw them, you know, the bottling plant. And so if you've seen the content, I've done the interview with the CEO, and I've actually gone to the plant and done a tour of the plant. So check that out on the channel. This week, I'm looking to post another interview with another entrepreneur, and then also um, see her in action with what she actually does. I'm pretty sure it's going to be her next. I'm still working through the details of whether or not it will be her or someone else, but you guys are going to love it. It's really good stuff. It's she's had an entire life transformation, born and raised in Sierra Leone, and is helping other people change their lives. And so that's all I'll say for now. But I'm really looking forward to sharing her story with you all because I think you'll find it really interesting and really helpful for you all. Um, Lenore saying thank you. Um, Nubian Treasure handcrafted said peace and blessings. Same to you. Patrick Real Estate says yes, it was. Thank you in terms of being helpful. Good, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Walmsley says thank you too, Joe. Thank you for promoting we country in a positive way. You're welcome. I'm happy to, and I'm looking forward to so much more. There's so much more that I can do. There's so many things on my to-do list. Trust me, there's a lot. There's a lot that I have coming. Just be patient with me, guys. If I've interviewed you before and it takes 4 months for the interview to come out, don't send me a message saying I'm not interested anymore. Taking too long. Thank you. Which somebody did. Somebody sent me a message saying that. It takes a little while for these interviews to come out. So I appreciate the patience of some of the folks who've gotten interviews done with me, and I'm looking forward to it. Of putting them out. So Jerry Campbell says Barbados is definitely worth a visit. That's where my folks are from. Nice. So Jerry, you mentioned that before. So yeah. So if you're interested in going to Barbados, I know that's outside the continent of Africa, and it's not authentic African, but there are African diasporans there. Check out Cece's Chazine's travel guide. So my travel guide is going to be a lot like travel guides are going to be a lot like hers. Her and I have spent a significant amount of time talking through strategies around building these things out, and she did an excellent job with hers. It took her about a month, I think, to put it together. And so imagine that's how long it's taken me, and I'm doing 6. So just be clear that it takes a little while for these things to be done. But these are the things that I'm working on behind the scenes. All right, I know I said I was going to go, and I've talked for another 6 minutes. So I want to thank you guys all for joining. I know new people are joining. Watch the replay. Please watch the replay. Oh, by the way, I also want to send a special shout out again to the folks at Swiss Hotel for allowing me to use the room on such short notice, literally 15 minutes before I had to go live. I spoke to the manager. Luckily, he was in one of the conference rooms, and he agreed to allow me to use the room. So I want to shout them out. I'm going to tag Swiss Hotel in this live because I told them that I would. And let me just do a quick, maybe if I can find their website. Yeah, I'm gonna actually just anyway. I'm gonna put in the description box. But I'm gonna tag them in the video because they were really helping me do this last second. All right, so guys. Oh, Gladys says like and share, please. Yes, I forgot to mention that. If you know anybody planning to visit Sierra Leone, anybody planning to move to Sierra Leone, make sure you share this with them. Hit that thumbs up if you found this useful at all, and comment on the replay. Unfortunately, the live comment section, although this is great and the conversation is always good, that does not give me any credit towards the actual live when it goes back as a video on. So you got to comment on the video itself. So those of you who are rewatching the replay, definitely comment. Give me a thumbs up if you found this interesting at all or at all helpful. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys all on Thursday. Whatever goes up on Thursday, I will be premiering it. So I'll watch it live with you. So if you have any questions or comments, you can type in the live chat when it goes live, and I will engage with you directly. And then on Sunday will be the same thing. I'm going to premiere that video, and I'm going to watch it live with you. And it's all at 6 p.m. GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. And I'll watch along with you. So you can ask me your questions, give me your comments in real time as the video is playing live. So on Thursday and on Sunday, and then of course clips will be going live in between. So right now we got clips running of the tour I did of the Capital Foods factory in Grafton. And then the previous Thursday, I posted the interview with Hamza, who is the CEO of Capital Limited. Okay, with that, guys, I want to thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you as always. Make sure you check out those videos on the channel, and I'll see you all on the next video. Wow, 23 people are still here. Guys, thank you for watching. I didn't end the stream properly. So thank you guys all for watching. I can't believe you guys are still here. So I am ending the stream though, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye guys.